Hey there, I am Ann Miller, President and Executive Director for the Home Educators Association of Virginia, and thank you for joining us tonight for this 40th anniversary, 40th annual convention, which is also HEAV's 40th anniversary. That would make sense, wouldn't it? We are real excited about what we have for you tonight and who is coming to speak. If you're let your friends know. Before I tell you about the convention and introduce you to tonight's much anticipated guest, I want you to get ready for some giveaways. We have some incredible giveaways. So please comment and share this video or any other party posts to be entered to win great giveaways. And also let me know in the chat how many years you've been homeschooling. I have been homeschooling. I am a homeschool mom of 8, now grown and married and have children of their own, always homeschooled kids. And we homeschooled for over 30 years. My youngest is 26, so it's been a while since we actually homeschooled, but I have lots of homeschool grandchildren, which is awesome. Anyway, so put in the chat how many years you've been homeschooling, and like and comment, and putting that in the chat, that counts as a comment. Hey, Tara. Oh, 9th year. All right. Go, Tara. And Lauren, 25 years. Whoa, that is a lot of years. And Lauren is also our convention director. Hey, Lauren. Oh, I think I just froze. Dave, 2nd year. Oh, congratulations. Gil, 20 years. Oh, my word. That's awesome. Thanks for putting it in the chat. Tabitha, Edmund, 18 years plus and going. You have a way to go, don't you, Tabitha? I can see you there. Yes. So like and comment and share for a chance to win some of these fabulous giveaways. We are convention exhibitors, Discovery Toys, Take Time for Art, LearnDifferently.com, The Right Journal, Lenspiration, Creating Adventures, and Sunlight have all donated books, learning packs, party favors, and more just to make this party fun tonight. So comment and share this video right now to be entered. And as you see the giveaway posts on the page for the different things that are being given away, you can comment and share those too. This year, we are so excited for our first convention sponsor to be Sunlight. And so be sure to thank them. You know, prices are crazy right now, and convention is no exception. The prices to do convention have gone up astronomically last year, and it's going to be even worse this year. But wonderful sponsors, generous sponsors like Sunlight, invest in homeschoolers and the convention so that you can be blessed and encouraged and equipped and keep the prices as low as possible, as we possibly can. So thank you, Sunlight, for your sponsorship, our first sponsor for this year's convention. Yay! These are left over from virtual events. Hopefully we don't have to do those. We'll be able to meet in person, which is another thing. With our convention this year, our theme is gather strength in community. And we are so excited about this theme of gathering because as even a 2-year homeschool dad can know, maybe the mom knows more, but the strength and the encouragement that we get from our friends, from people who are walking similar journeys to us is powerful and equipping. And I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have the support and encouragement of people around me. So that's our theme this year, is gather. And we are so looking forward to this 40th annual convention to gather with you at the Richmond Center. We have an incredible lineup of speakers, which we will be revealing to you at the end. Yes, thank you. On June 9 and 10. And it will be at the Greater Richmond Center, which we've been there for, I don't know, 25 more years. But we will, this year, last year, if you were there, and I know we had a lot of new homeschoolers who started over COVID and decided not to send their kids back. And we have a whole lot of new homeschoolers with us in the group that haven't been to a convention yet. But last year we expanded our special needs conference on Thursday. And in 2023, we're going to expand it even more. We're going to do a full day of speakers and resources and encouragement, families who have struggling learners, special needs, children with special needs. We are bringing in some of the best speakers to equip and encourage you. I have some special needs kids myself so I know some of the challenges and how helpful it is to get advice and find out how to make schooling work for your kids. And that's the beauty of homeschooling, right? Individualized instruction. We have worked in the college and career fairs. We have great keynote speakers. I'm going to reveal one of them to you at the end of this, after we talk with our next speaker, our first only speaker tonight. But we have a kind of speakers which we will be revealing to you in the weeks ahead. So what I would like to do right now is introduce our speaker. This is her time she's speaking at the convention. This is the first time we've been able to get her to Richmond. We've been trying for years, and COVID intervened. And so we are so excited about having her at the convention this year. It is Dorinda Wilson, Simply Unhurried. That is an author, speaker, podcaster. Dorinda, hey, Dorinda.
Hi.
Hey. Dorinda has written some incredible books. And I didn't know, when the first book came out, I saw the title and I said, this person is a genius. Her first book was The Unhurried Homeschooler, a simple, mercifully short book on homeschooling. Now, how many out there, you can put it in the chat, how many would have liked to have found Dorinda's book when you started homeschooling? I know back in the day, we decided to homeschool in 1980, and we didn't have anything to choose from. And now every homeschooler needs a book. And then the 4-hour homeschool day, how you and your kids can thrive in homeschool life. And yes, she's got so much wisdom. Yes, Sean, yes. And that's what I was going to say. Dorinda, you have so much wisdom on so many relevant topics. It was hard to narrow down what we were going to talk about tonight. I love your books. I love your newsletter. I love your podcast. And I just found that it doesn't matter what Dorinda is talking about or writing about. Her and the act of simplifying our lives, our home days, and all dealing with anxiety and overwhelm, which is epidemic, right? We have a pandemic of feeling overwhelmed and anxious. I read it annually. Yes, Kristen, go. But Dorinda, you are always practical, simple, transparent, and I find you very relatable. You're a homeschool mom of 8 mostly grown children. So have you always homeschooled? Tell us a little bit about your 27-year journey, and also what prompted you to write The Unhurried Homeschooler, a mercifully short book on homeschooling. Thank you.
Well,
And the 4-hour homeschool day.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Okay. So so my journey with homeschooling, we've homeschooled from the beginning, and I just knew, even for the time I was a teenager, that I wanted to homeschool our kids. I had met one homeschooling family, and I was so impressed with, you're going to laugh, how social they were. Not that I had any preconceived ideas about sociability, but they were just so much fun. They were so much more social and so much more fun and engaged than most kids that I knew. So that was really caught my attention. And then I kind of learned a little bit more about homeschooling and realized this is really what I wanted for these kids I hadn't even had yet. And so then we fortunately, my husband was on board and we started homeschooling. And, couple of decades later, my husband
You were
said, yeah, he said, you should write a book on home. He said, no, he said, you should write a book. And I said, on what? And I thought he was kidding. He said, you should write a book on homeschooling. And I started laughing. I was like there's not enough homeschooling books out there. Like,
right.
I'm the mom who gets overwhelmed. So there's too much. I can't handle it. So I was like, I don't want to add to that noise for these poor homeschool moms who are already overwhelmed with all the books that are out there. And I said, besides, our approach was so simple, and like, I don't think anybody would actually be interested in hearing it. And he goes, actually, I think they would be. And so I just thought, okay, I'll think about that. And literally it was at least a couple of months before I even thought about doing it again. I processed it a little bit, but then I decided I'm going to sit down and just write. If I sat down with a mom who is just starting homeschooling or who was discouraged, what would I want her to know? And so then I just started writing things out, and I wrote as much as was on my heart, and it ended up being a 64-page book. And I was like, well,
I love it.
That's it. That's all I have to say. So self-published that book, and then a few years later, Zondervan reached out to me and asked if I would, want to write another book. And so we talked about kind of what the premise would be. And their suggestion for the title was The 4-Hour School Day, because most people don't understand you don't have to school all day in order to have a successful homeschooling journey. And that's a lot of the reason that a lot of parents decide not to, because they think they have to do it for 8 hours a day, and you don't. And so it really ended up being sort of like an expanded version of the Unhurried Homeschooler, because the heart was still there, that unhurried approach was still there, but it was a lot more details and more stories, and kind of also gave the bigger picture of education, because I think that's what people are missing. They're thinking of it in terms of bringing public school home or traditional school home, not realizing that it can look so different and just be so full and rich and so successful. And so that's really what I wanted to get across to parents. So
yeah, well, and you did an excellent job. So can you talk about why you think it's so important to be unhurried?
yes.
And also that 4-hour day, does that work for every age?
Okay, well, we'll start with why it's important to be unhurried. And now that's something I actually have kind of an entire session on. But if I were just going to kind of hit the important things, I would say, I think we all know that science has proven that we need margin in our lives, that busyness isn't the same as being productive.
Right.
Sometimes, more isn't more. More isn't better. It's just more. And I think for just even our overall health, we need margin, and we need time to process. We need time to reflect. We need time to just be. And our kids need that too. So they need that element in their lives as well. And slowing down actually helps our kids become lifelong learners. It helps them become self-directed in their learning, which is what we want. Because it helps them learn in their own way and on their terms. That's really important for them to make that healthy connection with learning. That's not going to happen if we are just going 100 miles an hour, trying to just get information into them and out of them. It takes all the joy out of learning. That's not real learning, and we want our kids to have a healthy connection with learning.
But
Dorinda,
what about gaps?
What about what?
The gaps.
Oh, well, everyone. I love what Sherry Seligson says. Every kid is going to have gaps. That's just
gaps.
The thing that's great is if your child becomes a self-directed, motivated self-learner, whatever they need to learn, they can figure it out.
They can.
So, and that's the beauty of slowing down and giving them more of that time and space. And so in the 4-hour school day, I share how our school days were no more than 4 hours for the high schoolers, even. And when I talk about school, I'm talking about book work, because honestly, we're learning all the time. I wanted my kids, even the high schoolers, to have margin in their afternoon to pursue interests and hobbies. They did job shadowing. It gave them opportunities that I think were unique. And so that's why I felt like that. Those are just some of the reasons why I felt like Unhurried was great. The other thing is, as parents, in order to give our kids a great education and individualize it, like you were talking about earlier, we have to know our kids. We have to know where they are. And so we have to be a student of them. And we can't do that if we are just running from one activity to the next. And so, so those are just a couple of reasons why it's important to be unhurried. And, in terms of whether it's going to work for every age, again, I mentioned earlier, kids are learning all the time. We forget that. And so in both of my books, I talk about how we took an unhurried approach from the very beginning. So my kindergartners were doing 0 to 30 minutes, like we're talking, let's dig in the dirt, pull out the worms, and, maybe we'll read a book about that or whatever, or we'll read out loud. It really was determined by what I could see that they were ready for.
Yeah.
And
Maria's thanking you for this. You need it today. Yes. Yes.
And so, so we had that way small amount of time at the very beginning, and then we just slowly built from there as they were ready for it. And so it allowed them to just sort of like ease into those, more book years slowly. And so they were ready for it when it happened. And so, by high school, they were doing 4-ish hours a day. Some of them were doing a little more, some a little less, depending on the kid. But like I said before, then they had time for hobbies and interests and job shadowing and experiences. I think that's so important for our kids to have experiences. So
you could do a whole session on what to do with your young adults and teens.
Yes. Oh yeah.
10 sessions. Yeah. So when your children were growing up, you started in the early years. I love this approach. Yeah. You start in the early years with 0 to, what did you say? 0 to
30 minutes.
Yeah. And then, so I just want everyone out there with a kindergarten student to not hear you have to do 4 hours of school.
No, I know.
Yes. What Dorinda's saying.
I'm so glad you're clarifying that, because some people misunderstand. 4 hours at the most, and in those early years, oh my goodness, they need that hands-on stuff. They need us laying that foundation for character. So I spent a lot more time working on their chores and their follow through and following directions and things like that than we did on reading lessons. And because those are the foundational character building years. And when you get that character foundation down, the learning comes more easily later on. And what I saw with my kids was, it may look like they're not getting something. And sometimes it meant we had to just lay it down for a while, and then we would go pick it back up and they would get it instantly in no time flat. And I sort of described that like digging post holes in Alaska. Like you can chink away at the ice all winter long if you want to, or you can wait for the spring thaw. So, it's the same thing with kids. When they're ready to learn something, they can learn it so quickly. And the truth is that all that our kids learn in kindergarten to 8th grade, if you just narrowed it down to how long it would actually take them to learn concentrated, it's about 2 years.
Right.
So when I heard that freed me up to leave that margin in our day, realizing, okay, we're really covering 2 full years over the course of K through 8.
Yeah.
So
yes,
that was very freeing for me. And all of my kids have thanked me over and over again. They're so thankful they had a childhood. There's the things they learned while they were playing outside. They had this like civilization that they came up with out in these rocks. And they had people, each person had their own tasks and jobs in this society. They had their own currency. People did what they were good at. They learned that there were property lines and how to be a good neighbor. And I mean, the stuff they learned from just playing outside together every afternoon for I don't know how many weeks was amazing. And I didn't participate in any of it.
Right?
It was just them.
You can't do everything.
Yeah, exactly. And they were just so engaged in all of it. And it was and they have so many great memories together, and they're so bonded. from having that time together. So for us, the focus was really a strong family life. That was our main focus, and the other stuff, it came naturally with that. But we focused on keeping our family a priority.
Right. And
So
good character. We had a speaker at convention last year, Ryan Collins from Bethel Tech, and he was quoting an executive at IBM who said we have a new collar world. And in
mm,
the new collar world, the currency is character and skills.
mhm, mhm,
That the world, we used to have white collar, blue collar, now it's new collar.
mm.
The employers are looking for somebody who has good character and good skills.
Yep. And it's because they're teachable. They can teach them anything if they are self-starting, they're motivated, they're not, they know how to learn, they know how they learn. I think that's something my kids each figured out along the way because I gave them enough margin to figure out how they learn. I learned with them, but it was more important that they knew and they sort of navigated their way. And so they're all still doing that as adults.
Yeah. That book, Margin by Richard Swenson, that
Mhm.
book changed my life.
Mm,
And we all need margin these days.
absolutely.
It's just,
Absolutely.
I love your unhurried approach because it does build in margin, and we need margin. Rebecca is asking, how do we get an older kid who is too motivated to give oneself grace and flexibility to enjoy life more?
Hmm. Well, I can only talk about kind of the approach that we took was the morning was that directed learning, the things they needed to do. And then afternoon, I really did always insist that they do something that they enjoyed. And it's great that is motivated, but there has to be balance in life, and that is something our kids need to learn, and we are the ones to teach that to them. They have to know when to rest, and they have to know when they need a break. And the other thing they maybe need to know is that when they take a break, it's actually a brain reset, and it allows them to be more productive. Actually, the title to my book is sort of like a jump off of the what was it, the 4-hour work week, or I don't know what the title was, but it was something like that. The point of the book was you can only be really productive for just about 4 hours a day. And that's pretty much it. If you're trying to make yourself be productive for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, it's not going to work because it doesn't work with our bodies and our brains. And again, we need margin. Science has proven that we need that margin. So they need the playtime too. And you want them to grow up um, living healthy adult lives and making room for relationships and things like that. And if they're just working and driven all the time, it's not healthy. So, maybe just a little more talk about balance and what's healthy. And I tried to kind of help my kids cast a vision for their future. They all knew they wanted to get married someday and have families. So it's like, think about your spouse. You're going to want to have time for them, and you want to understand what healthy relationships are, and you're going to want to pass that on to your kids. And so you start doing that now in preparation for that. And that was often a motivator for our kids.
Yeah, that is so much wisdom right there. Wow. Well, time is flying by here. Um, um, did I already ask you about what would you say to a parent who has a struggling, difficult learner?
No,
So,
you have
what
not.
if for a parent who's got a struggling child who learns differently or
Mhm.
or is behind? What would
Right.
you say to those parents as far as being unhurried?
Right. Well, my first thing that I would say is behind what and behind whom. Okay. So that's always my first question.
That's a
What's
great,
the measuring stick here?
yeah.
That's one of my sessions is homeschooling purpose or performance. And we talk about what is the measuring stick. That's really what we're looking for. We want to know that our kids are making progress or enough progress. And so I talk about like, what does that actually look like? But that's always my first question: behind whom, behind what? Because our kids are uniquely, fearfully, and wonderfully made by God. And often it's really easy to approach education as though our kids are like machines.
Right.
And they're not. That's one of the downsides to the traditional school system, is that it was started in during the Industrial Revolution, when they were trying to basically educate children to become factory workers. So that whole system is so outdated, so outdated. But one of the problems with it is we began to mechanize everything. We started mechanizing our education and how we're approaching parenting and all these different things. And we're dealing with human beings. We're not dealing with robots or mechanics here. And so if we give our kids, appropriate time and space in this learning process, we give ourselves the chance to let the timing and the methods unfold more naturally.
Yeah.
And so there's something to be said for, I guess the word would be organic, just letting yourself, being okay with sort of feeling your way through homeschooling, because that's really at the end of the day what we have to do. And I, as a person of faith, of course, I do that prayerfully.
Yes.
But you as a parent, your child better than anyone. You love them more than anyone. You're more invested in their future than anyone. And so don't be afraid to let that unfold more naturally, and give yourself margin, give your kids margin, and let it be something that's not so harsh and hard, and let it be a wonderful adventure. Let it be about relationships. I think that's another huge thing. We really focused on relationships in our family, and that made the learning, the teaching and the learning so much better. I always tell moms, parents, like, be the parent first, be mom and dad first, and the teaching and the learning and all that will come naturally. You don't have to put on the classroom teacher hat. Really, I mean, it'll happen naturally at times, because your child will be they'll be inquisitive about something, and they'll ask questions, and you're going to want to help them find out what the answers are, and that's all very natural. So we don't have to put on this, I don't know, this weird persona. Just be mom and be dad to your kids. And like I said, a lot of that learning and that teaching will happen naturally.
Yeah, it is. We have one son who didn't read anything until he was almost 10. And as a parent, I can relate to those parents out there who are worried about what if
Yes.
my child's behind.
Yes.
And he couldn't read Cat in the Hat.
Mm.
And thankfully, my firstborn, he's my second born. My firstborn was a fluent reader at age 3.
Yes, big difference.
She just got it. And so during that time, I was like, what's wrong? Like, he's 5, he's 6, he's 7, he's 8, he's 9. But during that time, we had the Dr. Raymond and Dorothy Moore. I had been given their books by my mother-in-law, actually, who was freaked out that we were homeschooling our kids back in the 80s. And then reached out to them by the phone, because there was no internet. And they actually counseled me and encouraged me. And so if you're out there with that that child who's struggling to learn, I used to tell my son, because he saw like his sister could read. He actually paid his sister to read to him. True story. And we just told him, we don't know why. You're healthy, you're fine. But God just created you this way, and we're okay with that, and you're going to get it. Don't worry, you're going to get it. And then we just did the things that he could do, that he loved to do.
Yes.
And he went way ahead, and we did experiments, the whole thing. But and so if you're in that place, go to Dorendawilson.com. She has 360 podcasts. What you're hearing here is like this much of the wisdom that she has to share with parents on every imaginable topic. And I love listening to her podcast. I was telling her earlier, while we were waiting to come on screen, that she was reading a quote from a book, and I thought, that woman could reach me all day long.
I love that. I love that.
And
I,
so go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, I used to get so irritated because my kids would get like sleepy when I read to them.
Oh,
And they didn't tell me till a few years ago that, Mom, your voice is just relaxing. It just relaxed us and it made us want to go to sleep. I thought they were just bored to tears. And I was so frustrated.
no, your voice is so soothing. So if you and your friends out there, go, don't run, don't walk to dorendawilson.com. And she has podcasts on every topic. And we're coming into the holidays, and you've recently done some on anxiety
Yeah.
and feeling overwhelmed. They are excellent and so practical. And you're so transparent in sharing like what's worked for you. And
Right. Well, and here's the thing. I can talk about this because it's been an ongoing struggle.
yeah,
So just so you all know, you're going to go and listen and you're just going to hear me say, this has been a problem for me. And
yeah,
here are some things that have helped. And, it's just one of those things that we experience as human beings and as moms and definitely as homeschool moms. And
yes.
so,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
go to her podcast, buy her books. I saw Kathleen Dilly on here. She already went and bought 2 of your books
Oh,
while we were on the
awesome. That's
podcast.
great. That's great. I
And
love it.
and Dorenda is coming to convention.
Yep.
Yay! We get our old emoticon, but
Yay.
this way. um, we've been trying to get her to convention for a number of years, and we're so excited. So she's going to have like all kinds of topics. You're not going to want to miss seeing her at convention.
I'm
But
excited.
in the meantime, don't wait till June. Go get fed and get encouraged. She will encourage your heart, and just her voice will just calm you down and give you just a calm spirit, which is what we all need. Um, Dorenda, in closing, and don't forget, everybody, we're getting ready to announce who one of our big keynote speakers will be in just a moment. But Dorenda, before we say goodbye for today, you're going to have all the new BFFs after this. I don't know what we call this, a webcast. If you could only give parents one piece of advice, what would it be? Other than go to your website and listen to all your podcasts.
Well, my advice is simple but not easy. Okay, relax. Relax and trust in your child's natural ability to learn and their own timetable. Yes, there are times we need to do things to sort of spur on learning and that kind of thing, but I think sometimes we're too quick to do that and we're not allowing them that time and space that they need to get there themselves, which is way more effective. So relax and trust your child's natural ability to learn and their timetable, and also learn to trust your own instinct when it comes to your child, because like I said before, you know them better than anyone. You love them more than anyone. You're more invested in them than anyone. So why wouldn't you be the perfect person to facilitate their education? You are the person for this job, and God's given these kids to you. It's been intentional, and He's got a good plan for you and your kids. And I'm just telling you this: if you can just relax and just try to enjoy this journey, that's huge. That was a big thing for me when I realized, when I would feel myself getting all like angsty and worked up, I thought, I know this isn't going to help anything. This isn't going to be a good way for us to live out our days. And I don't want to live like this, and they don't want to live like this. So how do I relax? So as soon as I found myself not relaxing and not enjoying my kids, I asked myself why. And a lot of times it came down to I'd started adding too many activities. I wasn't simplifying enough, and I would go back to simplifying. Did that I don't know how many times, but it was so worth it. Yes, it was so worth it. And so, yeah, just relax and enjoy those kids. Like,
Yeah,
they are such a blessing, and you have them for such a short time. And
yeah,
that doesn't mean that we let everything go because, oh my goodness, they're only going to be little for a while. We want to build their character. We want to disciple them. We want to do those things, but we also enjoy them, because like I said, the years go, what does they say? The days are long, but the years are short.
And that is true. That is true.
And your kids know, they know if you're enjoying them or not.
Yeah. Joe
So
said, thank you. Such great advice. I've learned over 10 years of homeschooling. Relax.
yes,
It's a long game. I mean, it's a
it
short,
is.
long game.
Right.
And you have to do what works for you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
not your friend or not the Pinterest perfect person
Right.
that you're
Right.
following. Great advice.
Yes.
Thanks, Tracy. Yes, Dorinda, that was awesome. And so Dorinda's going to be at convention, but in the meantime, go to dorindawilson.com and check out her podcast, her books, and her articles. I actually subscribed to your newsletter early this year, and I haven't read every issue, but I love reading. You just have so much wisdom, and so it's so encouraging. And I have 8 married children and lots of grandchildren, and so it's really helpful to me. Where were you when we were homeschooling our
I was probably barely homeschooling myself.
We're probably about 10 years. We talked about
Mhm.
the ages of our kids. We're probably
Yep.
about 10 or 11 years ahead of when
Yes.
you started.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, as a 30 plus year, I didn't get the watch though, veteran of homeschooling,
Mhm.
what Dorinda is sharing with you is pure gold. And if you can take the advice and the wisdom that she's sharing, your homeschool journey will be so much more relaxed and pleasant. It's challenging. Homeschooling's challenging. So I'm not going to say it's easy, because I would be a
Right.
liar and my because it's not easy. It is hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And but so worth it. And I would do it all over again, but taking it good advice from Dorinda to make it easier in spots. But so Dorinda, thank you for being with us. We look forward to seeing you in June, and don't forget to go visit her, dorindawilson.com. We'll see you later. And I'm getting ready to, don't go away yet, because we're going to announce our keynote speaker, and they have a word for you. Bye, Dorinda. Thank you so much. What a blessing. What a blessing. So the moment you've been waiting for, we actually have 3 keynotes. Right now, we're only announcing one of them. And so here is a word from this exciting keynote speaker for 2023.
This is Kirk Cameron from the new movie Lifemark and the American Campfire Revival. I am so excited to get back to Virginia. So much has changed since 2019. 3 crazy years. How do you feel living in the brave new world? Listen, we're going to be celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Home Educators Association of Virginia. I'm so excited to meet you. It's going to be an incredible few days of hope and inspiration, equipping and empowering all of us as homeschool families to meet the challenges of raising kids in today's challenging culture. Can't wait to see you there.
We are so, I hope you're half as, even as we are, about having come. And he was here in 2019, and he was a hit. There were no empty seats in the ballroom. And since then, and all like this brave new world he talked about, how is that going? He has released two films. One is Homeschool Awakening. I don't know if you got to see that in movie theaters or not when it came out. And then his other film is Lifemark, which is about adoption. And we are so excited that he is coming to Virginia in June. So remember, we have all these giveaways. So please share Kirk's video. So and any of the comments, any of the things that have been posted, or any of the gifts, comment, like, share, and you will be entered to win some of the great prizes and giveaways that we have for you, and from our very generous exhibitors. Oh, Crystal says, my family comes from Michigan because HEAV is the best. Oh, thank you so much. Some of you have never been to convention. You don't know what a convention is. This past year in June, I mean, we doubled in numbers. Our Facebook group grew from 9,000 some to over 20,000. And so many of you didn't know what a convention was, and many of you came to convention this year and you were blown away. And one of the stories that I love, but it also makes me sad, um, was a Black homeschool mom was there with her whole family, and I was talking to her, and she was all excited and thanking me. I mean, not that I did the convention. We have a whole team of people who do the convention, but thanking for the opportunity. And I said, well, how was it for you? You know, what did you think? And she said, I wasn't sure if I wanted to come. I didn't know. She said, I didn't think I would be welcome here. And I just thought you would tell me like, oh, you're doing it all wrong. We're the experts. Here, stay in this lane and do these things. And she thought we were going to just, we're the experts. You need to do what we tell you. And she said, oh my word, it is so different. You care about me. You care about my children. You want to hear my story. You want to help. You have all these speakers and these exhibitors who are here like to serve me. And I was so moved. So if you haven't been to convention, or you and if you didn't come last year, or you're brand new and just starting this year, um, please come to convention. You will be amazed. And this year's theme of gathering strength in community, gather strength in community, is we're planning all kinds of special things that we've never done before. It's our 40th anniversary, so we're going to go big, and so we can go home and teach our kids. But we're going to have conversation, have I can't really to tell you things to find out coming soon. But having conscience, like speakers talk topics, we're gonna have gathering spots, we're gonna have all kinds of fun things, and there is strength in community. And I think you found that in the Facebook group, that you get support and encouraged, and you call our office, of course. And so I just want to encourage you, if you haven't been to convention, if you've been on the fence, come on, come on. We're going to have an amazing event. And the convention is June 8th, 9, and 10 at the Richmond Center. And registration for convention should open in January. And we'll be sending out notices. You won't miss. If you're not already on our mailing list, and you are email list, and you want to get convention information and updates, if you go to our convention page, heav.org/convention, you can go there and you can sign up, and you will be one of the first ones to know all the new things coming out at convention. It'll be amazing. 40th anniversary. Woo! Okay, thanks for being here, and hope to see you soon. Bye. Oh, and before we go, if they haven't cut me off, thank you to our who've given away these great prizes, and also thank you so much to Sunlight, our first convention sponsor, for helping to investing in homeschool families, in the lives of homeschooling, providing a great curriculum and resources, and for supporting the families of Virginia. Have a great night. Bye. Oh, did